Hey good people, how y'all doing? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be giving you all my review of Married at First Sight Season 16, the premiere episode. Guys, I am so excited to be giving you all this review as I am a huge fan of Married at First Sight. I started watching some years ago, maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, and from the first episode that I saw, I was hooked. I wanted to review Married at First Sight last year, but I just started my channel and I was a little tentative to just jump into that. Plus, these episodes are very long, so I didn't know if that was something that I wanted to do. But honestly, at the end of that season, I kind of regretted not reviewing that. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna jump right in and go ahead and start reviewing for this season. And I'm super excited to do so. Now, the thing about Married at First Sight that I love, and I think that all of us love as fans, is the potential for these people to find love and just to watch that develop and grow. Now, over the years, the show has definitely taken, in my opinion, a dramatic turn in terms of it looks like the experts at times just go with whoever and whatever and put them together. And we can see as the fans that it doesn't really work. So that has definitely, in my opinion, been a Debbie Downer these last couple of years just watching the show, especially that season with Chris and Paige. If you know who Chris and Paige are, leave a comment below and tell me how you felt about that train wreck. But I feel like that season, for me personally, as a fan of the show, was their worst season by far. And I've continued to watch, obviously, because, again, I want to see people fall in love. So I will say that, like I said, was the worst season. And it has, in some areas, gotten better. But then in some areas, it's just like, guys, what are y'all doing? So enough about that. I just kind of wanted to give you my little background about the show. Let's jump right into this review. I'm also kicking myself, guys, because I did not watch last week when they introduced everybody and started picking out who would be matched with who. I do have it on my DVR, so I do plan to go back and look at that. But I'm starting this premiere just like a lot of you are. And yeah, let's get right into it. It is now 14 days before the wedding, and here we are with Kirsten. My first impression of Kirsten is she is very pretty, but a red flag that I have with her is she is very picky. So she's pretty and picky. And to me, in order to do a process like Married at First Sight, you really can't be picky because you are putting your life, if you will, in the hands of these experts to pick out somebody based upon whatever metrics they use to find the right match for you. I would say that you would try to give them as much information as you can as to the type of individual that you like. But whoever they give you, once they give you that person, girl, you stuck with them for what, 3 months? So you just gonna have to live with it. As we get to know Kirsten a little bit more, she really reminds me of Stasha. She's very particular, like I said before. Her want list in a man is crazy to me. She wants him to be good looking, educated, nice teeth, go to church, fit, tall, handsome, well dressed, has his teeth, ambitious. I'm like, girl, that is a lot. Now, I'm not gonna lie, these requests are not unrealistic. They're just a lot. Like, okay, girl, yes, he needs to have nice teeth. I totally agree with you. You are very educated. She has her master's degree. She's a realtor, and she also does something else. So, yes, he does need to match your education, at least because that's where you are. I get that. Going to church, I think that's a non-negotiable as well. If I go to church, I want to be paired with somebody who has the same beliefs as me. So I'm with her on that. It's just, girl, this long laundry list of what you want, it could be a bit much. When she sits down with her friends and her mom and she tells them that she's getting married, I appreciate how supportive her mom is. Like, her mom just speaks words of affirmation, if you will, words of encouragement. And she's like, you deserve this. This is right. I thought that that was so beautiful. I love to see the family involvement on Married at First Sight because I feel like that is a good indication of whether or not that person should even consider being married if their family is not supportive and does not believe that they can actually go through the process and they are ready for the process. You guys remember Justin from last year, his brother said from the jump, nope, I don't think you should do this. I don't think you're ready. And what happened? He turned out to be 100% correct. I'm definitely watching what the family members and the friends have to say about these people getting married, because I feel like I said, that is very important. So they matched Kirsten with Shaquille. I'm gonna call him Shaq because I'm a big Shaquille O'Neal fan. So my first impression of him was, he seems like a real softie. You take that for how you want to take it. That was my first impression of him. The more I watched him, I was like, okay, yes, he's definitely giving me feminine vibes, which there's nothing wrong with, but looking at Kirsten, it appears to me that she really wants like a manly man, and that she really can be, what's the right word? An alpha female. And I don't think that alpha females do well with men who are not alpha men, if y'all know what I mean. I just don't think that works. So I think that she is going to potentially have an issue with that. This kind of, again, reminds me, I hate to keep using Justin as an example, but it reminds me of Justin from last season. He was a big softie. Alexis was really an alpha female. She tried her best to make it work, but we saw what happened at the end. It just didn't. And I'm hoping that, they do say that opposites attract. So I'm hoping that Kirsten and Shaq, can kind of get it together. But I don't know. I think he's just a little too soft and feminine for someone like her. That's my opinion. We'll see how it plays out. What I do like about him being a match for her is he is well educated. He is currently working on his doctorate degree, which is outstanding. I was very sympathetic to what happened to him as a child. He said that he, his mother, and his siblings were in a car accident. And when he woke up from the accident, he was wrapped around barbed wire. I was like, wow, that's really sad. Thankfully, all of his family made it out okay. But how traumatic must that have been for a child to go through something like that? He was told that he couldn't play sports and stuff. So he really focused his attention on his education, which obviously has paid great dividends for him, because look at where he is in life right now. So he does also have a great job. I think that he does, to that degree, obviously meet Kirsten's standards. Now, when it came to him sitting down telling his friends that he was getting married, they were like, with who? You do know that you actually have to have a person to marry, right? I was like, no, these people are not trying to play him. And like I said earlier, it's a red flag for me when your friends kind of are a little iffy about, should you go through this process? Now, they all seem very supportive. They just seem surprised that he all of a sudden was getting married. So I'm wondering, is he ready for marriage? Because, like even your friends, if they feel like he's been talking about marriage or whatever, or they feel like he would be great, then they would be supportive of him going ahead and getting married. But the reaction from his friends is not that. It's just surprise. So I'm wondering why they're so surprised that he is getting married at first sight. Like, of course, initially you're going to be surprised, but it's just like their surprise was a different surprise than I was anticipating. For a couple of reasons, I'm watching you, Shaquille. I'm watching you. Next up, we meet Dominique. She's 25. I know a lot of people have an issue with her age, like, oh, she's only 25. Why does she want to get married? These are the best years of her life to just get to know who she is, date around, blah, 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 blah. But I got married at 24. And I feel like for me, yes, it was hard because you're young and you have to grow and learn your husband and stuff like that. But I've now been married for 11 years, and I would consider my husband and I to be a success story as it relates to marrying young. I got all of the foolish things that young people do out of the way prior to dating him and stuff like that. So it can be successful, you getting married at a young age, if you're in the right headspace and if you are in it for the right reasons. But I'm not so sure about Dominique. She says that she is an old soul. And to be honest, as I'm watching her throughout this episode, I'm like, old soul where? I don't see it at all. Part of the reason too, like for me, and I think for my husband as well, he's 2 years older than me, why we were able to get married young and, stick it out through the good, through the bad, especially in those early years, is because we both are like old spirited people, if you will. I was raised by older parents. I think that aided in how I viewed marriage and just how I carried myself and stuff like that. And my husband also, he was more so raised by his grandparents. So that too played a role, I believe, in his upbringing and why I would consider him to be an old soul as well. My first thought about her seemed like she really likes to party and have a good time with her friends. When she told her friends, she had 2 girlfriends there, she told them that she was getting married, and their response was, well, as long as we can still keep our girls' night out and everything. And I'm like, no. Now, I'm not saying that once you get married, you can't hang out with your friends and whatnot. You most certainly can, but obviously during the beginning stages of the marriage, as you're trying to get to know one another, especially when you're talking about this process, no ma'am, you need to be home with your husband, trying to get to know him, limiting your normal day-to-day things with other people and focusing on your marriage. And if her friends were in the right headspace themselves, they wouldn't even have said something like that. That's just my opinion. Dominique also is someone who speaks to her mom all the time. Like, she must have called her mom like 3 or 4 times while we saw her in this particular scene. So she's a mama's girl. That's not something that I'm used to seeing. I don't even think I've ever said that's a mama's girl. So it's very interesting. Her mom was actually the one who signed her up for Married at First Sight. This is the biggest red flag to me as it relates to Dominique, because it's like, you didn't even come to that decision yourself. Your mom made that decision for you. So are you really ready to be married at first sight? I don't think so, because I would have to think, in order for you to be ready to do married at first sight, you're ready to get married, not your mother telling you this is what you should do because she doesn't like the people that she's seen you with in the past. And I think it's a little bit more than that too with her mother. She does mention that her mom was a single mom raising her, and she saw the sacrifices that her mom made, which is why she considers herself to be an old soul. I think the mom's angle here is, I don't want my daughter to have to struggle the way that I struggled. So if she's married, she can go through life and be able to lean on her husband to help her out with things and stuff like that. That's what it's given me. You guys let me know what you think about that. And this is what I'm talking about earlier too, when I talk about the experts and how sometimes they just throw anybody together. I feel that way, one, because her soon-to-be husband, McKinley, is 34. So that's almost a 10-year age difference between the two of them. And we saw a couple of seasons ago with Eric and Virginia, that could be a disaster. And they kind of remind me of those two as well. Not so much McKinley, but definitely Dominique in her outgoing personality and party girl way reminds me a little bit of Virginia. But the fact that this woman openly admits her mom is the one who signed her up for the show. So if I'm an expert or just a person that has common sense in general, that's definitely not someone I'm going to say, yeah, come on, let's sign her up for this process and find her a match. Absolutely not. So it's because of those reasons why I'm feeling a certain type of way about Dominique. I hope that she and McKinley can make it work. We're going to talk about him in a minute because I really think that he's a really nice guy, but I'm concerned. I'm right off the bat with her, I'm definitely concerned. So McKinley, he is 34. He describes himself as being an introverted dreamer. And he also described himself as something that I don't necessarily equate with men, which is sassy. So that's very interesting. He is an entrepreneur. He talks about his brother and his sister being high achievers. He lives with his childhood best friend's parents. So he doesn't have a permanent place of residence that he has of his own, which is not terrible, but definitely giving me a little bit of a red flag, because it's like, at 34, why don't you have your own space? Now, I'm not saying you need to be a homeowner, because I'm certainly not myself just yet, but you definitely should have a place to bring a wife home to, not your friend's parents' house. That's just my opinion. Y'all let me know what you think about that. He does mention that he was living with his girlfriend. I believe they were together for like 4 years or for however long, and she sent him a text message of her wearing a ring. So he's thinking, oh, you picked out your wedding ring? Homegirl was engaged by somebody else. It was just like, come again, say what now? How are you living with this woman and she's having a whole other relationship with somebody else and is engaged by somebody else? It just does not make any sense to me. Now, I have already told y'all I've been married since 24. So do things like that actually really happen And like how? I'm gonna have to watch McKinley as it relates to that. But he kind of broke down a little bit when he was talking about his ex. So I'm thinking perhaps he's still not over her, or he's not over the trauma that she caused him by being engaged to someone else. We'll have to see. But my heart did go out to him when he told that story, because I think that that is absolutely horrible. When Dr. Cal was explaining why they matched, one of the reasons as to why they matched McKinley and Dominique, he was saying that they have similar attachment styles, meaning that they're the type of people who like to come together and enjoy one another, but also like to go out and do their own thing. I see that with Dominique. I don't necessarily see that with McKinley. We'll have to wait and see. Next up, we're introduced to Nicole, who is 32 and describes herself as a bitch with a big heart. When she went and sat down and talked to her friends, she started to cry, telling them that she was getting married. I'm not sure how to take that, like why she was so emotional when she shared that information with her friends, but we all react and respond to things differently. But I thought that was very interesting. She says that she's a bitch that has too big of a heart. She mentions the fact that she is Italian. She's super close to her dog, and when they showed her and the dog together, she has these pig toys for the dog that she plays some strange game, in my opinion, with. And I'm just like, girl, you're a little quirky. Okay. She also describes herself as someone who pushes to make relationships work. I think that that is a good attribute to have on a show like this, because honestly, that's what we do want to see. If they pair you guys together, we want to see that you guys are going to try, even through the tough times, to push through and try to make the relationship work. But obviously, if it's not working, it's not working. Like, if you know you don't want to be with this person, in my opinion, just call it quits while you have a chance. You guys remember Chris, and I can't even think of the other girl's name from a couple of seasons ago. I can't even think of her name, but she was the girl who wasn't feeling him from the wedding. And they never lived together, never stayed in a hotel room together, nothing. I'm reminded of that relationship where obviously he knew this girl is not feeling me, so I'm going to exit stage left. That's how I feel like all of these people should be. If you know that you're not wanting to be with this person, or this person is not going to get to a place where they want to be with you, it's just best to go on your separate ways. Like, don't try to make it work. You would just be wasting your time. For the most part, Nicole seems really cool, so I really like the vibes that she's given me at this point. We'll talk about her a little bit more later. Her match is Chris. He's 36 and he is a self-proclaimed Mr. Nice Guy. He likes to do impersonations. One of the impersonations that he did was Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I'm like, okay, so this is going to work for somebody like Kirsten, because you know she plays with the pigs and the dog. So this is right up her alley. I'm sure she'll be okay with the fact that he does these impersonations. He feels as if chivalry is not dead. He opens the door for his ladies. He's a really nice guy. From how he's describing himself, he kind of is like the type of person who would court you, take you out to dinner, make you feel like you're the most beautiful woman in the room. Like, he seems like he is that type of guy, and that reminds me of my husband, so I love that. He says that he is very selfless, and he realizes that that is something that can get him burned. That is something that can be a problem if he's with the wrong person. They'll try to roll over him or something like that. He also has dogs, and I am honestly always a little nervous when we have these couples that have dogs, because of how the dogs will get along. Like, it's always a thing. So I'm hoping that her dog and his dogs will get along just fine. But I really like Chris, and he does come across as a very nice guy. I hope that this relationship works out for him. I think that him and Nicole could actually be a really good match. I really feel good about these two. Moving right along, we meet Aris, who is 39 years old, and he calls himself reformed and ready for love. Ooh, when I saw reformed, I'm like, reformed from what? As I'm watching him and listening to the things that he's saying, he kind of gives me Woody vibes. I forgot what season Woody was on, but he's married to Imani. They're a very popular Married at First Sight couple, and they're still together. They just had a baby last year, and they're so cute. I love them. But he's giving me Woody vibes. And when I first met Woody during that season, I was like, no ma'am, I don't like him. His friends are saying that he's not ready for marriage. marriage. So I don't think he's going to take this process serious. But Woody obviously proved me wrong. He has turned out to be an amazing husband, and they matched him and Imani perfectly. So I'm hoping this is going to be the same situation with this character Aris. We'll just have to wait and see. He says that he's only been in one relationship where he's really opened up himself to the person, and I guess was vulnerable with that person, and then she ghosted him. So he spent the last 10 years, kind of from what I understand, being a player, if I'm reading between the lines that he was given. So at 39, and you've been doing that for 10 years, at 39, I would think you would be trying to get yourself together. So maybe that's why he's on the show. Like, he really is looking for love. I'm not really sure about him. I'm really not. He mentions that he lost his dad young. His dad was murdered. That was really sad to find out. When he sat down and talked to his family, his mom was present, his cousins, and I guess his friends. His cousin was not feeling him getting married at all. She was like, you don't have the experience. You've never really been in a committed relationship. You've never lived with someone. I don't think you're ready. I was like, wow, she said a whole lot. Mama didn't say nothing, but his cousin was telling him, absolutely not. She literally said to him, don't do it. So because of that, I'm a little leery of Aris. But again, if he's kind of like Woody, maybe there's hope. So he is matched with Jasmine. Jasmine is a 31-year-old beauty queen. She's actually very stunning. She's close to her family. They have a close-knit family. I lost my mom and my dad at a very young age. So I'm always enamored with people's families and their family dynamic. When she sat down and talked to her family and told them that she was getting married at first sight, they were super happy for her. You would have thought that this woman won the lotto. Okay, that's how happy they were for her. I thought that that was so beautiful to see. Just the support of your family. And her aunt really spoke life into her. Her aunt was like, you've been dating really shitty people before. F them. I'm happy for you. You're going to get what you deserve. I was like, yes, auntie. Yes. Speak life into her. Speak positivity into this marriage. So Jasmine says that she can be a little stubborn. She's always working, but she was mentioning that her relationships normally last 4 to 5 years. Girl, you're only 31. 4 to 5 years? What? But anywho, I'm hoping that her and Aris are really the next Imani and Woody. I'm really hoping so. We'll just have to wait and see. I think they'll both definitely be physically attracted to one another. I mean, he's decent looking and she's very pretty, so I don't think that they'll have a problem there. If he's not fully committed, it obviously will be a problem. Moving right along, we meet Gina, who is 35. She describes herself as spontaneous. I didn't get a whole lot meeting Gina. I think that she is a nice woman. She is a salon owner. Men sometimes can be intimidated by her because she runs her own business. I think that she's, a really nice lady. She told her mom and her friend, and they seemed really excited for her. The only concern that her mom had is that she really works a lot, and how are you going to fit a man into the type of lifestyle that you live, kind of thing. And Gina told her mom, you know what? I'll have to make room for him. Like, I'm going to put him first. So that is definitely, to me, a great answer. That's the answer that you want to hear when you hear two people are getting married. We'll just have to wait and see if she actually does do that. She is matched with Clint. He is 40 years old and he is seeking his first mate. Clint, I really don't understand what Clint does for a living. If you guys know what this man does for a living, let me know. He considers himself to be a professional life learner. He loves experiencing different things, going to different places, learning things. So that's great. That's definitely a plus for someone like Gina, who is spontaneous. He loves to sail. We see him on his sailboat. He also flies planes. My first impression of Clint was it was good. He's a nice looking guy. I'm just, again, concerned, do you have a job? Because, if these people don't have jobs, that's definitely a problem. But when Pastor Cal was talking about him, he mentioned that he has a great career. So I guess we'll learn a little bit more about that during the rest of the season. So all the ladies and all of the guys meet one another. I will say this, Shaq is a talker. Oh my goodness. And so is Nicole. Maybe those two should have been matched. They love to talk. My goodness. I died laughing when Aris called Clint the brawny guy. You guys remember Brawny back in the day? And they had the guy on the cover of the Brawny paper towels. When he said that, I fell out. I was like, oh my God, yes. Aris is kind of funny. Nicole is over there chatting it up with the girls, and she's telling them that she has come up with the word pineapple if she's talking to her husband too much and he kind of just wants her to leave him alone. So she said that when he says pineapple, she'll go walk the dog, she'll let him get himself back together and do whatever she needs to do just to kind of leave the situation where it's at. I'm glad that she knows enough of herself to even think to do that, because I foresee her husband calling pineapple quite a few times. Dominique tells the ladies that she likes a good GNO, which stands for Girls Night Out. Again, every time I see her, I'm just like, girl, I don't think you're ready for this. I don't think you know what you're getting yourself into. Back over with the men, they're talking about sex and how long it's been since they last had sex. So Chris says that it's been a good year since he last had sex. And Aris is like, well, he is like kind of like a 40-year-old virgin. And when he said that, I was just thinking, I didn't think that that was that bad. He hasn't been in a relationship with anyone. So why is it a bad thing that he hasn't had sex in a year? Y'all help me out, okay? Help me out. Do you think that that's too much of a long time to go without sex, or what? The girls back at their table are talking about how their men might perform in between the sheets. Kirsten said they need to go back and roll the tape. She told the experts that she needs the man to have about a good 6 or 7 inches and know how to use it. Kirsten, first of all, them judges are not going to be asking this man what kind of length he's working with. And number 2, girl, really? Dominique asks, what if he is a quality guy, but he don't know how to really work it? Kirsten and Nicole said that it's okay as long as he can compensate in other areas. I know that's right. Nicole lets them know that she has not been intimate in the last 2 years and she is ready to get it in. Back over with the men, Aris drops the bomb and tells them that he had sex 2 weeks ago. Say what now? So somebody asked him, well, was that like before you found out that they had matched you or what? And he claims it was the night before he found out. I don't think so, Aris. I really don't. You probably been out here playing in these streets because you realize, with marriage, like all people go into it with the thought of this is going to be the last person that I'm with. So, you was out there doing what you was doing. Truth be told, he probably just had sex the night before. I'm just saying. The type of vibes he's giving me, that's what he's giving me. Clint says the same thing. And I'm like, okay, so Aris and Clint, I'm definitely going to be watching you two. So both the men and the women are talking about consummating their marriage. Of course, like we've seen in seasons past, none of the women are really interested in doing so. Over with the men, Shaq is the only one who's a little hesitant to get it in on the wedding night. In the next scene, we are dress shopping with Kirsten and suit shopping with Shaq. Kirsten, we already know she's picky, so I foresee this whole wedding dress thing taking a little bit of time. To be quite honest, I was surprised it only took her 4 dresses. I think she did a good job with choosing her dress. She looks absolutely stunning. Shaq is over there. He brought his mentees, and I thought that was really cute. He doesn't really have any friends in Nashville. He just moved there. And he took them suit shopping with him, which I thought was really nice. They called him Mr. Dillard. I was like, okay. So he tried on 2 suits. The first suit, they were like, no, this is boring. And then the second suit, which was, it was okay. He tried on and they really liked it. So that was cute. It's the Bachelor and Bachelorette party. And listen, this is the time for these people to have a good time and just get all their nerves out if they can right before the wedding. Some was having more of a good night than others. I thought Dominique was just a bit team too much. She had the guy taking shots from her chest. But who I was most surprised by was Miss Nicole. Miss, I haven't had sex in 2 years, okay? Girlfriend was licking tongue on the torso of the strippers that they had there. Absolutely disgusting. Girl, we are living in the age of COVID. and God knows what else. Why are you over here licking this man that you don't even know? But I guess, listen, if she could do that with a stripper, imagine what she's going to be doing with her husband, okay? I'm just saying. So those two were having a really good time. They all seemed to have a really good time with their parties, which I thought was really cool. Another thing that Dominique did that was over the top was she was over there almost about to look like she was about to give the stripper her phone number. Like, girl, no, what are you doing? You about to get married tomorrow, girl. The rest of the women are over there looking at her like, don't you give that man your number. So again, guys, y'all already know I'm still scratching my head when it comes to Dominique. In the next scene, it is the day of Kirsten and Shaquille's wedding. Kirsten woke up, and when she let that hair out of that bonnet, her hair was absolutely beautiful. I was like, oh wow, they just need to do a little touch up for the wedding, you know, not too much. I thought it was really cute, but that wasn't the hairstyle that she went with. She actually pinned her hair back in like a bun or whatever, and I wasn't really feeling the hair. I really wasn't, but she still looked like a stunning bride. Okay, she really did. She was sitting there worried about where her mom was at. Mama was not answering the phone. She mentioned that her father would not be there because he refused to get a COVID test. I didn't really understand that. Your daughter is getting married and she is the firstborn daughter. I think she might be the firstborn in general. Why would you not want to be there for your daughter's wedding? Just because you don't want to get a COVID test? I could see if there were some other things going on, like in seasons past, we know that some parents were sick or whatever the situation is, but you don't want to go because you don't want to get a COVID test. Just doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know how close she is to her dad, but sir, you should have been there for your daughter. Shaq is over there having a little bit of a meltdown with his guys. You know, he's a little scared. He wants to make sure that he's making the right decision. He's been through some silent battles, and I was kind of wondering, like, what are some of these silent battles that you've been through? Shaq, I like you. I think Shaq is a very handsome man. He's obviously successful, but I'm questioning a couple of things about him, okay? And as the season progresses, we'll probably get a little bit more into that. Kirsten's mom finally shows up. So the bridesmaids start asking her questions about him, like, you know, physically, what are you looking for? One of them asks if he's bald, would that be a problem? She's like, you know, I like a guy with a low cut. She said it 2 times, so she's really serious about having a man with a low haircut and a nice beard. Now, Shaquille is neither of those things, okay? He does have a very nice beard, but homeboy has no hair. So I already knew right then and there that she really wasn't going to be feeling him from a physical standpoint. And then I think when she gets around him and realizes, you know, he's a little bit on the feminine side, I think that that is going to be another turn off for her. That's my opinion. So the girls are like, well, if you're not really feeling him, what is your sign going to be? So she says to them, if I'm not really feeling him, I'm going to ask him just to kiss me on the cheek. And that'll be your sign to know I'm not really feeling him. We see in the preview, the episode stops just short of them revealing her walking down the aisle that Shaq actually kisses her on the cheek. So that's a telltale sign that she's not really feeling this man from a physical standpoint. We have seen this before. This is nothing really new. Sometimes it's worked in the favor of the couple as they've gotten to get to know each other. They, I guess, have become more attracted to that individual. And then sometimes, like a couple of seasons ago with Chris, and Alyssa, with Chris and Alyssa, we saw that she just could not get over the fact that she was not attracted to this man. But then we have seen with Karen and Miles. Karen was not attracted to Miles, but she grew into her attraction. And I also want to say that I follow her on Instagram, and they just had a baby like 2 years ago. Deanna, and I forget her husband's name, but y'all know who I'm talking about. A couple of years ago, like 5 years ago, I think their Married at First Sight was in North Carolina. She wasn't really attracted to her husband at first either. They're still married to this day, and like I said, they had a baby about 2 years ago. So we can see, like, it could either be a good thing, like I said, or a bad thing. We'll just have to wait and see how this whole thing plays out. But that's pretty much all I have for you in this episode, guys. You let me know what you thought. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye-bye.